This is episode 318 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker Adam Emmert.
Brandon, double-digit wins. We're in the playoffs. Got to feel good about all that, except for I watched that game.
Don't just look at the score. Don't watch the games.
Yeah, the problem is the score. 5 points?
Yeah,
but
that's a win. I said going into this game, I was going to be happy with a 1-point win. I'd be happy with a 2-point win, 3-point win. I didn't care. I was going to be happy with a win. Are you going to try and convince me that I'm not happy about a win?
I don't know how you feel, but I have very mixed emotions about that game. There's no doubt about it.
I did not have mixed emotions, though, about another game. And I'm having trouble with my own emotions, feeling what felt better. A Seahawks win to lock them into the playoffs, or a Rams loss to knock them back into second place in the division. And not just a Rams loss to an 0-13 Jets team.
Yeah, no, that one's easy for me. I know how I'd rank those feels. If I'm feeling all the feels, it would be Seahawks win, lock up a playoff berth, and then the Rams lose to the stupid Jets in that order.
Oh, good.
Definitely the Seahawks win is a bigger deal because either way, this coming week, we would have, been able to impose our will on whether or not we're going to win the NFC West or not, right? Like the Rams are coming. We're going to play them, and it's just a matter. We got to beat them. Even now, we still have to beat them.
Well, I think there is a way that if the Seahawks lost and then the Rams lost in week 17 to the Cardinals and the Seahawks beat the 49ers, then we would finish the season with a better record.
This team could easily lose to the Niners in week 17.
The Seahawks aren't losing to the Niners in week 17. Come on now.
Dude, that is in play. I'm telling you, man.
Wow. You felt that bad after this game against Washington.
Yeah, there just gets to be a point in the year where your record says who you are, the way you play says who you are, and it is what it is. I mean, we went through kind of the machinations of the season where you've got the defense playing well or playing poorly, then the offense playing awesome, and then the offense playing terrible, and then the defense playing better. And then, so we've been through all of that. And so this is the time when this team has to show and has the evidence with the previous weeks of who they are and how they play. And to be honest, I don't know what this team does well, but at least in this game, they played well in the first half.
I will tell you what this team does well. They get out to leads and then slowly give them away. They've done that very well this season, whether it's the start of the season or the end of the season. They've been able to do that well consistently.
Doing a bad thing well isn't good.
It's true. But okay, well, let's get to at least the point to where we felt pretty good, because when this game hit 20-3 on the scoreboard in the third quarter, you felt pretty good, right? Like at that point, in terms of grades, and because we gave the A- for the last game. In terms of grades, when it was 20-3, what would you have graded this team out as?
Yeah, I would say they were right in that same range, that A-, B+ range. They were doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
sure. There's room for improvement. It wasn't just a knock your socks off perfect game, and that's okay. I'm not asking them to be a perfect team and play a perfect game every week. But up until that point, you're like, okay, offense has moved the ball a little bit. They put up some points. Defense has been shut down for the most part, even though Washington still moved the ball quite a bit in the first half.
Yeah.
You felt in full control.
They did enough on defense to feel in control. And we can go through some of the reasons why it felt that way. One part of it was Jamal Adams continuing to be Jamal Adams, picking up his 9.5 sack of the season against Dwayne Haskins.
3rd down and 11, a 4-man rush. Haskins stands strong. Now he's got to scramble to the left side, being chased by Dunlap, and now he gets hammered down as Adams catches up to him on the far sidelines. He's going to get credit for a sack. That makes 9.5 on the season for Jamal Adams as he chases Haskins down, and that wasn't even a contest running to the far side.
And I throw that in because we got a Wyman chuckle in there, Adam.
No, we did. We got the Wyman chuckles. That's fun. But congratulations, Jamal Adams. It's a tremendous accomplishment. And I really hope he gets one more going down the stretch here. I'd be kind of stunned if he didn't. I want him in double digits.
Yeah. He had 2 against Goff last time we played.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a huge key to that matchup against the Rams.
So we got Jamal out there, and we got another player on defense too that really helped slow down the football team's ability to score, because Shaquille Griffin inside the red zone intercepted a pass tipped up. I wasn't sure if Quandre Diggs got a finger on it, if it was the other receiver, but Shaquille Griffin making the diving reception to help keep points off the board for Washington.
He stands strong, 3-man rush. Haskins waits. Now he's being chased out of the pocket. Scrambles right side look, fires a shot. Ball's tipped up. Ball's intercepted. Shaq Griffin intercepts it down at the 3-yard line. There's one of those days that got tipped up, and it allowed Shaq Griffin to intercept it. Seattle gets the takeaway and stops the Washington drive inside their own 5-yard line.
3rd interception on the season for Shaquille Griffin, his career high.
Right. Wish that was a little higher, but yes, a career high. So yeah, congrats to him. He's looked very good since he's come back from injury, and definitely a key piece to this defensive puzzle.
And moving on to special teams, another part of this victory was we saw Michael Dixon out there punting extremely well. And then we had Jason Myers kicking through his 31st straight field goal of the season, passing him beyond Alindo Mare for the Seahawks franchise record for consecutive field goals made.
It's up, it's long enough, it's good, and it's a record setter. Jason Myers now with 31 straight dating back to last season, 20 straight this year, field goals without a miss.
Not much fire there from Rabel on that one, though.
Well, I mean, it's kickers. But I guess I'm a little surprised that Alindo Mare was the record holder of that before Jason Myers.
Right, because when you think of Alindo Mare, you think of just the press conference of Jim Mora and just berating Alindo Mare like he may be the worst field goal kicker in franchise history. But no, it was he had the record.
He had the record. So,
but you'd think Hauschka, you'd think Norm Johnson, right? Those 2 guys.
Those were the first 2 names that came to mind for me. But interesting and great for Jason Myers. Really kind of a redemption season. Because last year, I think we were all kind of like,
It was better. It was better than a Blair Walsh season or even Sebastian Janikowski.
Oh, for sure. It worked out way better. And then this year to return to that Pro Bowl form, whether or not he ever ends up there, I don't know, because you never know who pulls out and all.
They're not having a game, so I can guarantee 0 players will pull out this year.
Oh, that's right. Gosh, Corona does all sorts of weird things, doesn't it? It fixes the Pro Bowl.
A bummer for Jason Myers. I may have more on that later. We'll see. But so Myers gets the record, and he does it with a 61-yarder in there too as part of that streak. So that makes that much more impressive. And then we have Russell Wilson hitting his career high 37 touchdown passes.
Empty backfield with 3 receivers right. Russell's going to throw to the end zone, reaching up, making the catch. Touchdown, Seahawks! Hollister, the tight end, in between a couple of defenders and right in the middle of a gaggle of Seahawks receivers. Hollister makes the touchdown catch, and now Seattle goes on top 12-0 over Washington.
That's awesome. Russ obviously started out super hot this year. I don't think anybody thought he wasn't going to set a career mark for touchdowns with the way he was playing early. Obviously, it slowed down a little bit later, but I'm not sure that's exactly a product of his ability to put up points like that. That's something that I kind of came to a realization to after this game. I think some of that, a lot of that, his lack of production late is a direct result of coaching and philosophy.
Ooh, okay. We are going to get into the coaching and philosophy discussion in this episode, it sounds like.
Now's the time.
And that's where your frustration with this is, right? Because up 20-3. Now, I do want to ask you, though, because up 20-3, you felt like they needed one more score to put this game away completely, right? And they had opportunities, or maybe if they didn't have one more score, the defense just to be able to continue to hold like they had held Dwayne Haskins for the first 40 minutes of the game, right?
Sure. And you could ask the defense to do that. That's fine. But the defense, you have to expect the defense to give up more than 3 points a game. You just do.
Sure.
I don't care what era of football it's in. Most of these defense are going to give up 10 to 14 points on average, right? Like you're going to have to do more than just be up 20-3 in the second half and then completely take your foot off the accelerator offensively and just coast, all because you're afraid of their pass rush. And it was unbelievably frustrating to watch because you're exactly right. They just needed to kick one more field goal to make that super comfortable, right? And they couldn't even get that done. And the thing is they had ample opportunity to do it.
So I'm curious, though, because you set up with the defense that they're going to allow some points. But part of taking the foot off the gas, it's not just on the offense. They also took their foot off the gas on the defense, too. So they were definitely allowing them more cushion, allowing more of those short throws, and allowing them to march down the field. So I guess my frustration was that they didn't keep the foot on the gas defensively they didn't keep doing what they were doing that got them to that point in the first place that brought them all the success. So
valid criticism.
Yeah.
Valid criticism.
I am more upset with the fact that they did that on defense than because looking at the second half, I'm having a hard time pointing to where they took their foot off the gas offensively.
Oh, well, I can help you with that if you really want to know.
Yeah.
So this is the last 4 drives of the game that had any consequence. I'm not talking about after the defense had their final stop and basically it's kneel downs, right?
Right.
So the last 4 drives of consequence.
The only 4 drives after the Carlos Hyde touchdown.
Correct. First one ends on 4th and 1 at the
catfish
50.
Right.
4th and 1. Now, number 1, Russ throws it out in the flat. Carlos Hyde is trying to pick up the first down. If Russ just makes a better throw.
Yeah, he threw it behind him, and then Carlos Hyde had to try and miss 2 defenders rather than just outrun 1 to the sideline, right?
Right. And if Russ would have waited even just another beat longer, Hollister was coming open in the same zone of the field. Should have been right in his field of view.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, number 2.
It looked like he looked him off.
Yeah, he totally looked him off. And then you get 4th and
catfish
1 on the
catfish
50.
Okay.
And Pete
catfish
Carroll turtles up yet again and
catfish
punts. That the second they did that, I was like, "Oh, we're just not going to try in this second half." Are you freaking kidding me?
You're up 20-3. They're up 20-3. Why would you go for it there?
But can you win the game in the third quarter? The
catfish
right, you can. If you did it right then, they could have won it right then. But instead, they freaking punted. That's the first of the last 4 drives. How it ended with Pete being a
catfish.
I was okay with the punt there.
I hated it. I threw something. It made me so angry.
Well,
and the reason why it makes me this angry,
the
reason why it makes me this angry, Brandon, is you hear coach speak all the time, right? Well, if you're going to perform in the games, you have to practice good habits in practice. You have to build the muscle memory and the habits to do the right thing when the times are the toughest, right? This is an excellent spot for Pete Carroll and Shoddy to build and practice good habits. Punting at 4th and 1 at the 50 in that situation is a
catfish
habit. And he's been doing it for games now. We get so angry about this. And then listening to his press conference made me even more furious. That was inexcusable. And if you do the right thing all the time.
Again, I up 17 points, 3 scores. I didn't have an issue with that. The thing that I actually had more of an issue was the idea of trying to work Rashad Penny in there in that moment. If you're trying to put the game away first and then get your players involved that you're trying to get back from injury. He can take 5 snaps later on, put Hyde in there, put Carson in there, get the first down, get moving, and then, wait until the game is well out of reach to get Penny in there. So first down, they run Penny for nothing. Second down, he gets 6, which is, that was fine. It was just, it didn't seem like
he was close to breaking that too.
Yeah, I just didn't think it was the time to get Penny involved.
It didn't hurt. It didn't help. It was net neutral. It was going to be about the same as Chris Carson or Carlos Hyde in this game.
I would say that taking your foot off the gas is putting in your third string dude, but your biggest problem with taking your foot off the gas in this series of plays is the punt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not the third down throw to Hyde, because that was just a bad throw.
That was a poor decision and a bad throw.
Okay.
He could have waited for Hollister for a half a beat, or he could have actually thrown the ball and led Hyde up the field a little bit.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one.
But also, too, on that throw, that was part of the philosophy of the day. And again, we'll get back to that discussion.
I thought the philosophy of the day was a good one. I thought the idea of getting the ball out quickly, not putting Russell Wilson under pressure to try, make the short throws. I thought that was a good strategy against Washington, and it had worked to the point of 20-3.
Yes, it had worked to the point of 20-3. There's no doubt about that. But you saw them sit even further back in their zones, and they just kind of froze up for the rest of the game. Because then you get to the next drive, and on second down, Hollister has a false start.
Disley false started.
All right, Disley has a false start. They end up in 3rd and 15, and instead of trying to pick up a 3rd and 15, they run a smoke route for DK.
Yeah.
They just toss it out there, and it's a give up play. There you go. Another spot where you just take your foot totally off the gas. I get the odds of it picking up a 3rd and 15 are low,
right.
But at the very least, catfish, try. Don't run a give up play.
Well, they tried to hit Lockett on the play before that. And yeah, so I think had they been able to pick up the chunk on second down and made the third down more manageable.
Right. So that drive ends on 3rd and 15 with a give up play.
Yeah. The most defensive thing that happened to me in this was the false start on second down.
Right. Again, they're self-inflicted wounds, right? A lack of discipline. That's a sign of a terrible team. It's closing time. It's winning time. And you're making mental mistakes before the ball is snapped. That's
and the problem with that one, too, is it came after DJ Reed had the interception. You're coming off the interception. Yeah. You have the ball at midfield. And this is the time to put it away.
Yeah, seal the deal. Can't do it. Next drive ends with Russ's pick.
So at this point, too, those first two drives, they're still up 20-3. So it's not like, okay, they didn't necessarily have to score. They're 3 scores ahead, but you could have gotten one to put it away. But now Washington comes down, they drive down, and they kind of dink and dunk. That was the drive where Dunlap had the roughing the passer call, which I don't know if he got his forearm up near the face mask. I tried to see it on the all-22. Yeah. You couldn't really tell from behind or the side what exactly happened, but that was what helped Washington get out from the shadow of the end zone there.
Correct. So, yeah, the game's a little tighter on the following drive, and that's the one that ends with Russ's pick. And why I'd say this is turtling up, taking your foot off the gas as well, is you'd put up a screenshot of Tyler. He was running a deep post.
Yeah.
Right? To the middle of the field against two deep safeties that were going to have him bracketed. Right?
Right.
And the off safety was just starting to break on the ball as Tyler's making his cut. So Russ at that point has hit his back foot and he's on the 50. Tyler's at the 20. You're going to have to rip it about 35 yards and split those safeties, right?
Right.
It's a dangerous throw.
It's a dangerous throw. Tyler could get lit up.
Is it a throw that Russ can make greater than 50% of the time?
I think
yes.
So. Yeah.
Yes. And so then instead of just letting it rip, and he would have had to have been decisive and let it rip. And he hasn't been decisive and just let it rip for 3 games straight now.
Especially with the deep shots, right?
Exactly. So especially in the middle of the field with the deep shots, with everybody playing double high safeties on him now. That's something that's got him discombobulated. It's not working well.
Discombobulated?
Whatever the word is. And he's just something elated. And it's not good.
I would pronounce it discombobulated, but
There we go. Fine. That's better. And what do you have against Bob anyways? What do you do?
You know what? I have a lot. The alternative pronunciation, I think I have more of an affinity for.
Yeah. So there you go. See, that makes some sense. But yes, so he could have ripped that ball there and at least tried for it, right? At the end of the day, it's an arm punt. So whatever, right? So instead he rolls out and Shoddy and all of his freaking genius, he's got DK and Hyde running to the same spot on the field, and one dude can cover them both. And there's nowhere to go with the ball. So then Russ tries to run around and bait the defender, and he comes up and he makes a nice play and bats the ball, and it's a pick. Then it's all because you didn't have the balls to throw the ball in the first place.
Yeah, I think it was Carson that was standing on the boundary. You had
and DK was right behind him.
And I don't know if you had a third tight end there too. I don't know because one of the things that you and I were talking about with regard to this play when I had posted into the Ring of Honor Facebook group is that part of the issue with the two high safeties is you didn't have another receiver over on the left side. And it looked
to hold the other safety.
And it looked like there may have been a call to go into max protect because you saw on that play, you saw two tight ends blocking on the left side. And so maybe it was Hollister, or maybe it was Disley, those two. And the reason why I say that is because Abuehi, he had Josh Sweat. And so he had rolled out and he was standing essentially right above the 40-yard line. And because that was his dude, and he knew not to cross the line of scrimmage. He was very
smart.
He was very smart. But the thing that he did was that he looked back. He turned to look over his left shoulder to see where Russ was. It just so happened that as soon as he turned his head, that's when Russ broke out of the pocket. And so Abuehi had to spin all the way around in a circle. And as Sweat was making the rush toward Russ, and Sweat for him to tip that pass, he had to jump pretty high. Russ did a pretty good job of lobbing it to try and get to Carson. I was almost worried that if it would have got over Sweat's fingertips, it would have been such a lob that the defender would have had time to get over to Carson too. But there was a lot of room there. Who knows what would have happened. But it was a good play by Sweat. One of the problems I have with this is that they got away, though, from what they had been doing all day. The dropping back, take the quick shot. This was one of the first times where he dropped back and he looked for the deep ball.
Yeah, but then didn't do anything with it.
No.
And they played straight up zone almost the whole game. Two deep safeties in a zone, and they basically baited the offense into running a bunch.
Yeah. Until the Carlos Hyde run, they did start putting more players up in the box.
Right. But for the most part, throughout the majority of the game, it was 6 and 7 man boxes. Like they were baiting them into running.
Yeah.
And so anyways, Russ takes his foot off the gas on that play, doesn't try to actually score there, and tries to get cute, ends up turning the ball over. Last drive ends on 3rd and 7 with Carlos Hyde just dropping the ball.
Yeah. Right in between his hands.
Concentration lapse, not paying attention, not doing the little things in winning time to win the game. That's taking your foot off the gas too. Like the mental lapses, whether it's a false start by Disley or a drop by Hyde, like those are the things that can't happen. If you want to be consistent, if you want to win, if you want to be an actual good team. And right now, this team to me feels like the best of the bad teams.
Because you think the philosophy of kind of getting comfortable with where the score is and not continuing to push is what's contributing to these teams being able to get back in it.
You get up a little bit and then you become afraid to lose instead of trying to win. And I freaking can't stand it. And I was really happy that we were going to hold off on doing this podcast for a couple days instead of doing it right on Sunday, because I was full of fire on freaking Sunday. I was so angry. And then just before we got on to do the pod, I was actually in a much better space. I was like, we're actually in good shape. And like, here's the things that are happening. And, you kind of having more of that positive spin. And then I made a gigantic mistake. I made a huge mistake.
What was that?
I listened to Pete Carroll's presser.
From
the
Wednesday?
Post-game presser. No.
Oh, from the post-game presser. Oh.
He was freaking thrilled. I loved everything about this. This is exactly what we want to do. They executed everything perfectly. They did everything that I wanted. That's the first time that I've listened to Pete talk and I've gotten like legitimately, maybe you need to go angry.
After the game on Sunday, Pete Carroll was legit happy that they won another road game, that they secured a spot in the playoffs, because that's what he talks about the entire season. You don't do anything unless you do something to that's a significant achievement, and securing a spot in the playoffs is a significant achievement. How he had game planned the offense to go up against this Washington defensive line.
To barely score enough points to beat a catfish team with their backup quarterback. What an awesome game plan.
So you would have been fine had they just scored one more time. More time. So it's more important to you to have a dominant win than just a win.
It's more important to me to practice the habits you're going to need to beat the good teams in the crunch. That's what's important to me. This sort of, play it safe and barely beat a bad team crap is going to bite you in the ass. And that's what makes this team a first round playoff loss. That's how it feels right now to me.
So you wanted them maybe to put the ball in Chris Carson's hands more and potentially.
No, not in this game. Not in this game. And I'm a big Chris Carson fan. But Chris Carson couldn't help but bounce it outside every single freaking run play.
He only had 2 plays that went for a loss, and one of them was because of way he decided not to block either 2 guys on a run to the outside.
And there was a bunch that went for like 1 that could have gone for 5 or 6 if he would have made 1 cut, planted a foot, and taken what's there and done what he does best. Instead, he's getting cute and bouncing it outside. Oh, that was infuriating to watch when I watched the 22. That's not his style. I don't understand where that came from all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, he had 15 carries, 63 yards, so... Okay, you wanted to see more of the other dudes, but you think that maybe it was worth trying to squeeze that in there with the potential of Tyler getting blown up and maybe picked off? That would have been worth it to you, or maybe worth it exposing Russ to more hits inside of the pocket. He's gone 2 games now where he hasn't been sacked, and so you wanted him to drop back and leave himself maybe more exposed against the defensive line that it was just prolific at getting after the quarterback this year.
They've been very good. And they hadn't done it throughout the entire game. And part of that is just trying to get it out of your hand quick and all that. But they had already made the decision to not get it out of his hand quick. It was a deep drop. The play was dialed up.
Yeah.
To hit that. You got to take a risk now and then. You have to go for it.
And
I can't.
And that's the thing about that too, is you didn't take that risk, and then you end up with it being a turnover anyway in a worse part of the field.
Correct.
I hope that there is a teaching lesson in that moment for Russ. Just take the deep shot. Don't worry about. I feel like he's worried. He's been more worried about turning the ball over lately.
Yes, and that goes back to the philosophy and the coaching aspect of this. Listening to Pete's presser once again, like this was his game plan to barely do enough to beat Washington. And to just keep their defensive line out of the game. That was it. That was his entire game plan. It was just thrilled, tickled, proud as punch that they beat a trash team 20-15.
I mean, I don't know if they're a trash team. They're the best of the NFC East, though.
Isn't that by definition trash?
I don't know. It's not losing to the Jets.
It's not losing to the Jets, but like even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, right? And I don't want to get mad at this team. I took a long walk today and yesterday to kind of thought a lot about this and be like, okay, there's got to be a lot of positives here. Like you're just being one of those guys that just no matter what, you're just not going to be happy. And the thing is I want them to have a legitimate shot to win the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
And right now, with this philosophy, the way that they're playing so close to the vest, just eking it out against terrible opponents. And not only that, but getting thumped by one in the Giants along the way, it doesn't leave me with a feeling of confidence that these guys are a well-oiled machine going into the playoffs. It feels like they're a middling team that's middling at everything. They might win their division and, could just be 2 bad bounces away from a first-round playoff loss because they don't do anything spectacularly.
I feel like there's a lot of middling teams throughout the NFC, though.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you can't look at the Saints and say that they're looking all that great now, coming off of 2 straight losses.
The Packers probably look the best right now.
I think that's easy enough to say is that the Packers look the best, but they aren't a great team either. They have their weaknesses.
No, but if you were to play the Packers right now today was the playoffs, win or go home, do you feel any better than a 50-50 shot of winning that game?
Yeah, I think that these are all going to be 50-50 games.
Right. And this team has the talent to be a team that going into those sort of games, those championship caliber games, that they should be playing together and with a philosophy well enough to give you a sense of certainty of like, I'm 60 to 70% sure they're going to win this game. Just think about how you felt going into the Broncos Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Going in. I remember sitting down with Jared he was a huge Broncos fan. And I knew for sure, for a fact, there was no doubt in my mind we were going to obliterate them.
I would not have traveled to New York if I thought that I was going to just watch a losing effort.
Right. And I don't need him to be an all-time dominant defense or anything like that, right? I just want to have that feeling like, I think we're the best team in this conference. I feel very strong about that. And I just don't at all.
They haven't put it together yet in a way that gives you that confidence. Not yet.
And you say yet, but it doesn't matter. Like, this is who you are now. We're at the point of the season. You are who you are.
You know what, though? If they would have just gone through these last few games and won, I guess they would have to have gone on a kind of streak of dominant wins, like the win over the Jets, where you're winning by multiple scores. You put the games away. You put away the bad teams the way you're supposed to put away the bad teams. Then you go into it, I guess, maybe feeling more confident, right? Yeah,
Russ looks a little sharper. He doesn't get befuddled by just total zone coverage. Just Tampa 2 zone. And the only difference is that they're just playing the linebackers even deeper back. Because what the teams have decided here down the stretch is, look, they're not a great running team. You know, they don't hit the tight ends very often. They're not good at that. The only thing we don't want to get beat on defensively is Russell Wilson thrown deep to DK or Tyler. And so that's what they're playing. They're playing all the linebackers and everything in deeper zones and 2 high safeties. And there's just no room for him to loft those sexy deep balls in there. And so now, instead of just taking the checkdowns, he sits on it, waits. And here we are. And at least in this game, I guess he was hitting the checkdowns, but then he's been inaccurate with it.
Yeah, I wonder if, well, for one thing, you have to practice the checkdowns, right? Like, they just don't, they don't like throwing those. And I don't know if it's that the philosophy of Pete not liking, he wants the big chunk plays. He likes getting those. Or if it's Russell, or if it's Russ, too, maybe right? Russ doesn't like taking those throws.
Well, what makes Russell Wilson great? Like, what's the thing that makes people go, wow, look at him when he's really clicking? He's able to elude pressure, and he's able to not make the big mistake and still hit the big play.
But the big plays are there even when they're taking the checkdowns. And that was the frustrating thing about the Washington game, is that here they had taken the checkdowns, the drive that you're talking about before the turnover. Mm-hmm. They had been running, they'd been taking the checkdowns, and then here's the play where it's his opportunity to go deep, and he doesn't take it.
Mm-hmm. As per Pete's game plan that he's giddy about. That's why he doesn't throw that ball. It's not because Russ doesn't have confidence.
No, I don't think it's because of that. He's not thinking about Pete in that moment when he decides not to throw it.
Is he not one of the most coachable players you have ever seen in your life?
Yeah, I don't think he's, so he's thinking of avoiding a turnover there.
It's Pete in his head, chewing his gum. Don't throw it there, Russ. Check it down.
Why dial up that play? So you're dialing up that play. Maybe the other safety blitzes on that play, and he has him wide open. Is that just why you dial up that play then?
I don't know. I honestly don't know at this point. Are you trying to push the ball down the field at this point, or are we just?
It sounds like you're so mad about one play and one play only in this game.
It's the whole second half and the offensive philosophy that surrounded it, and it was ballless.
I was more upset about the philosophy on defense to take your foot off the gas. I thought they should have continued to cover those.
At least they put their foot back on the gas at the very end of the game.
Right.
And get after Haskins. At least they did that. The offense never did that. They never went, oh crap, if we just score one more time here, we've got this sealed. They never got it together. They did not get their poop in a group.
Well, thank goodness for Carlos Dunlap, huh?
Heck yeah. Yeah. He's basically been the closer on this team.
And DJ Reed. He had a good game, didn't he?
When I was walking around out in the woods and tried to be like, all right, find some positive things so you don't sound like a total dick the entire time. DJ Reed kept coming to mind. What a revelation, man. I'm just really excited for him, seizing the opportunity and playing hard and just playing well. I mean, just congratulations to him. It's awesome.
Now, did you hear Pete? I don't think it was in the press conference. It might have been his interview on 710 the next morning, where he was talking about Reed having that Doug Baldwin-sized chip on his shoulder where he just wants to go after everybody who's ever wronged him.
Okay.
Yeah, he compared him to Doug with his mentality.
Little ADB, huh?
Little ADB in him.
Yeah.
The other thing about Reed in this game is that he wasn't covering a scrub for most of this game. He was covering Terry McLaurin, who has been one of the, I'd say, top 3 receivers out of that draft class. You have DK Metcalf, you have A.J. Brown, and you have Terry McLaurin. And I think he only allowed 15 receiving yards on the entire day for Reed. And that's not just, that's including McLaurin. I think McLaurin made maybe 1 catch, but 15 yards on the day that he allowed.
Yeah, no, he did. He was great against McLaurin, and you're right. McLaurin's a talented player. There's no doubt about it. I mean, just statistically speaking, he matches up pretty close to DK, and I think they're the only 2 from that draft class that are over 1,000 yards this season right now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and but the frustrating part, philosophy wise, with the defense was, especially in the second half, is you could tell like all their plays were scheming to get Logan Thomas open. And we just refused to cover him for half a game and let Haskins, of all people, get in a freaking rhythm.
Yeah.
Like I guess that's another part of some of the philosophy here that really bothers me is just, again, being so slow to adapt and adjust. Oh, we're going to pick on you with Logan Thomas because we think he's a good matchup. Okay. After 2 or 3 of those, and he's going there every play, we can't run a double. We can't do something just to get him off that target, go through another read, maybe make a mistake. It just makes me think of this Rams game coming up, and it's like, oh, okay, well, good. We've hit Cup up the seam 4 times in a row, and then just not adjust to it and just let Goff get in another rhythm, even though he's freaking stupid, not a very good quarterback.
That was frustrating too, and that's why I thought that it was, because there were multiple times where they would rush 4, they wouldn't blitz, or they would only rush 3. Alton Robinson dropped into coverage on one play and then slipped, and they just end up throwing it. I think it was probably Logan Thomas that they dropped him in front of, and he dropped way too deep. Yeah, there was just multiple things in this game where you said, philosophically, they took their foot off the gas, both on offense. I thought it was more on defense. You seem to lean more on the offense. It doesn't really matter.
Well, either way, that's 2 out of 3 phases of the game where they just kind of stopped playing for a couple quarters.
Except for Michael Dixon, who got Player of the Week for special teams.
Right. Yeah, he's been awesome. It doesn't look like he'll be in the Pro Bowl this year, but whatever.
I might have a little something to say about that too.
Okay. Oh, I feel like those are what they call a tease.
Yeah. Hopefully I remember to get to it.
Okay.
So, do you have a sense, at least, Adam, that this team can find its identity now in the last couple of games and going into the playoffs?
It's not lost. It's already here. They already have their identity.
This is it?
This is what I've been
identity?
saying the whole show. You are who you are at this point of the year.
Okay. There might be more to explore here.
And the Rams losing to the Jets was not a good thing for us, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. They're not going to take a team for granted coming in this week. They aren't going to feel any bit different going into this game with the win or the loss. A win over the Jets wouldn't have mattered. They were going to play up to the Seahawks level in this game, just knowing that a division title's on the line. Yeah, well, it also the idea that you just lost to the worst team in the league in that embarrassment, that helps light a fire under guys. It really does. And you can poo-poo it all you want and say it doesn't matter, but it does. And honestly, at the end of the day, this last Sunday, it just felt like, yeah, we're going to lose to the Rams. I know where that feeling comes from, especially, and it doesn't have anything to do with the Rams losing coming into this game. I legit feel like McVay has Pete Carroll's number when it comes to coaching against his defense. And I don't know, the last game was frustrating because even without Chris Carson, even without Carlos Hyde, they had an opportunity to win that game. And Russ throws 2 picks. They fumble the snap. Kyle Fuller's in there at center. Mm-hmm. And so they were without a lot of guys in that game. And still, I mean, Jared Goff didn't have a great game. They got out to the first 3. The thing that frustrated me about that game, thinking back to it, is that they allowed Jared Goff to put up points on each of the first 3 drives. So the Rams had 17. The Seahawks had 10 after the first 3 drives.
And then it kind of went stalemate for both sides of the ball from there. The Rams were able to get one more score, and then the Seahawks just weren't able to get into it until late in the game, when it was too late.
Yeah. The biggest difference to me, you talked about guys not being there for the first matchup, guys being here for the second matchup. And I think one of the biggest changes you've seen in this team from the first matchup to the second is the pass rush. The pass rush is much improved from where it was when they played the Rams the first time.
Yeah, but Dunlap was in that game, right?
I get it. But
Jamal had come back from injury.
Right. But it's been since that game that you feel like they've started to put together that pass rush and really have it in key moments. And if there's anything that unravels this Rams team, it's getting pressure on Jared Goff. He's just like Garoppolo in that sense. You get in his face, he makes mistakes. And that's what the Jets did. It's exactly what they did. They got after Goff. And
they got a ton of interior pressure. The two guards and the center. So Austin Corbett, Austin Blythe, the center, and David Edwards, they were just dominated by that Jets interior.
Yes. And that's where I feel like they will have an advantage in this matchup than they did in the previous one. And if there's going to be a way that the Seahawks pull this off, it's going to start with that pass rush. They need to get after Jared Goff.
Yes, they need to get after Goff. The other thing I feel better about, though, is that you got DJ Reed and Shaquille Griffin. Shaq was out in that last matchup, so it was just DJ Reed in Shaq's spot and Trey Flowers in the opposite spot. I like these corners a lot better against the Rams receivers. And then I do think that in terms of having an idea of when to blitz Jamal, I feel like they have that down a little bit better as far as just scheme wise, how to work that out.
Yeah, you would think so. And it feels like Ken Norton's kind of turned that corner there. Yeah, again, you have a lot more confidence in the defense going into this game than we did in the last one. But boy, howdy, I certainly don't have as much confidence in the offense going into this game as I did the first time.
Really?
No.
You have Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde and Rashad Penny now going into this game.
Cool. We've been healthy for a couple of weeks now, and it hasn't looked good. It's been disjointed against terrible teams. And this was another thing Pete said in his presser. Somebody asked him, hey, what happened here in the fourth quarter? You gained 37 yards. What isn't that concerning? All that? Oh, I'm not concerned at all. I'll let you guys be concerned about that. I'm not concerned. That's perfect. That's exactly how we want to play. I love it. Like he brushed that off, and the reporter, bless his heart.
Yeah.
Like
it was Joe Fan. I think that was Joe Fan that asked.
Good for Joe Fan. And he's like, no, I think this is a valid point. Yeah. You know, your offense stumbled down the stretch. Well, I'll let you guys talk about that if you're concerned, but I'm not concerned. We executed the game plan perfectly.
I don't think he was saying that he wasn't concerned about the productivity. He was just not concerned that it was going to continue to be a problem. That was my takeaway from Pete's answer.
Well, Pete and I have a little different way of looking at life, apparently, because to me, once is a coincidence, twice is a trend, and three times is a you problem. And this is at least 3 games in a row where the offenses look disjointed.
But they had looked good enough up until that point to where it didn't bother you. That's the point I'm making.
It looked okay. Yeah.
They were up by 17. If they continue to do that, you're fine. So I do think that they are going to have a much better running game. They're going to need that against, especially with the corners that the Rams have. I think a running game is going to help them a lot better here. That same kind of mentality of getting the ball out quick so that Aaron Donald isn't, frustrating you throughout the day. That was one thing that you saw from the Jets and Sam Darnold. It was a lot of dump off passes to the backs, which we know that Russ isn't going to do that. So maybe it's dump off passes to the tight ends. I mean, there has to be another way, right?
There has to be another way, but that was one of the ways they killed them the most. There's no doubt about it. But you did see that they were able to handle a good defensive line, and that does give me some hope going into this game that they'd be able to handle that Rams defensive front a little better. Now, there's nobody, obviously, on that Washington team that's anywhere near the level of Aaron Donald, but they've got a lot of studs. There's no doubt about it.
Well, Chase Young, I think, has that potential to be that kind of guy, but nobody
but just right now, realistically, I mean, Aaron Donald is that kind of dude.
And you saw the Jets have a ton of trouble with him. They were double, triple teaming him, and he was still getting in the backfield. it turned out that he was like one of the only guys who was getting in the backfield. So
how does it look for Brandon Shell in this game? Because he feels like it's been him not being healthy has also coincided with this offensive slump. And so, yeah,
I said that before. I said Brandon Shell might be the Jenga piece for the Seahawks offense.
Yes, the right tackle is the linchpin of the Seahawks offense. Yeah.
So Shell, he did not participate in Wednesday's practice again.
Okay. No, that doesn't bode super well.
No. Jaron Reed didn't either. He, apparently with a chest injury. That's concerning.
Oh. Yeah, don't hurt your chest. It hurts.
Other than that, no. Upati was out, but so it has him with the neck. I have a hard time saying Mike Upati's a starter now. I feel like Simmons has played quite a bit of time at the left guard spot, and you don't really notice whether it's Upati, whether it's Simmons. They seem like whoever's coming in to fill in at the left guard.
Yeah. Our starter at left guard is Upati.
Upatimans. Yeah. So that side of the line has looked good, and although Abuehi, apart from a couple plays, I thought Abuehi was fine.
I'm not mad at Abuehi. I think that he's done a fine job of filling in. Just if I was able to have a wish list of things that I'd like, having Brandon Shell back healthy for this game would be on that list.
Well, another thing that I'm curious to see, I was watching Cynthia Freeland on NFL Network. She pointed out,
hate yourself? Why would you do that?
I was curious to see what she had to say about the Jets win over the Rams. It wasn't so much.
My name is Cynthia Freeland, and I just sat on my computer and I went this thing 46,000 times through a Madden simulator. What I found
it wasn't simulation stuff.
All the things, the simulations that I do, none of them actually apply to real life. But I'm so happy the NFL Network gives me millions of dollars to do so.
Why does Cynthia Freeland sound like Cartman?
Yeah, she knows why.
So no, it wasn't about me wanting to look for what Cynthia Freeland had to say. I was just trying to watch as much Jets winning over the Rams content as I could find. Like I was celebrating in this a little bit. But she said one thing that was kind of interesting, and a stat that 11 of Goff's 12 interceptions have come against nickel defense.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So,
another interesting stat that should be of note to her. People actually pay her money to do what she does. That's an interesting stat.
She does some interesting stuff.
That, and she should really work on her voice. That Cartman thing isn't going to work for her long term.
That's you talking like her or sounding like Cartman.
That sounds exactly like her. It's a dead ringer.
You've just got your impression of Cynthia Freeland just dead nuts on, don't you?
It's dead nuts. It's basically, if I had a puppet that I could use with it, I'd be basically Jeff Dunham. Like, I'm that good.
So, going back to this game against the Rams.
Right.
What else are you looking for?
I am looking for the DK Metcalf revenge game.
Ooh.
I remember all the talk. Oh, well, Jalen Ramsey, he shut down DK Metcalf. And it wasn't that he shut him down. It's that they bracketed him with 2 to 3 guys like the entire game. And then they all act like Jalen Ramsey like single-handedly shut down DK. I know it's been a bit of an issue to some people that Russ kind of locks onto DK and all that. I'm just looking for DK to have one of those games that great players have, right? Where they log that in their lock. Like there's an article taped up in DK's locker of people talking about Jalen Ramsey, shutting him down. And he's been stewing on it since that week. And if that happened, I would be giddy.
Well, if it does happen, then he is going to break Steve Largent's single season record because Metcalf only needs 65 yards to do it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Largent didn't quite, I think it was 1285 was Largent's 85 season. He's going to get 65 yards over these next 2 games, but I want to see him break it in this game.
Sure. Absolutely. That'd be great. Also, he should get on that rushing thing because I think Rabe still has the record on him on that.
Yeah. How about a jet sweep to DK or an end around?
Right. Hey, speaking of watching a bit of the Rams over the last couple of days, watch out for that. They're still doing it's going to be all the same stuff you've always seen from the Rams offensively. It's jet sweeps. It's the wide zone. It's the boots and the multiple crossers over the middle. And
the thing, going back to the other game, they shut down the Rams run. And Cam Akers is going to be out. He's the one that's been starting for them. Yeah, I know. He's your new Who guy. He's not going to be playing in this game, so it's going to be Darrell Henderson, which is probably another Who guy for you.
No, actually, I think Darrell Henderson can play a little bit. I would rather have seen
Akers,
whatever his name is. Yeah.
Well, I just think that they all kind of they're all pretty good backs. And so I don't think that hurts them a ton. But this defense shut down the run for the Rams last time. And that's another thing that frustrates me looking back at the first game is that they had done what you need to do to shut down the Rams, and that's to stop the run. But then they couldn't do all the other stuff that
can generate pressure consistently.
Right.
Which is it's shut down the run and generate pressure. And all that razzle dazzle before the snap that the Rams run doesn't do them a lick of good at that point.
I do think that this team is a lot better at shutting down those jet sweep style plays, though, than they had been traditionally.
Yes.
In previous seasons.
And I think the addition of Adams and Brooks makes a big impact on that.
And even to a certain extent, having KJ playing up a strong side linebacker.
Oh, for sure. I would say the addition of speed and playmaking, I think, is helpful on those perimeter runs. And Robert Woods, I mean, he's freaking fast, and they use him on that stuff a lot.
I do like that with the speed that the Rams have, that we're going to have Reed out there along with Shaquille Griffin.
No doubt about it. It sounded like possibly Flowers might be back.
He's supposed to be back. We might even see Greg Olsen might be back in this game.
Wow. Well, that would be fun. I'm rooting for Greg to come back. Sounds like DJ Jallis will not be back, but
you still have problems saying his name too.
I don't care. And
it's like there's a D and a J in his last name. I don't know how you work that out, but yeah.
Look, it's his parents' fault and for naming him that.
Yeah, he sat out of practice on Wednesday, but I wasn't even really that
better. Yeah.
Because you have Penny, Hyde, and Carson now.
Is it written in the stars somewhere that we're just not allowed to have our full stable of running backs healthy for even one game?
No.
Because
you have to have, and that's why I don't even know why you're trying to play all three of those guys in one game like they did last week. That just seems like a recipe. Like you put one of the guys in the bubble so that you have at least one fully healthy back at any given time.
I see. Is that is the running back bubble next to the Geno Smith bubble?
Oh, well, it's not Geno. They put the other dude in the bubble. The guy they picked up from the Falcons practice squad.
Oh, he's the bubble boy now?
He's the bubble boy.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they did that around the time when Denver went into the game without a quarterback. They decided that they were going to have one of their quarterbacks, and it was the dude that I can't think of his name because he's been in the bubble. There's no name tag on the bubble. I don't know why they don't put like a little sign with a name tag, but no, it's like unnamed dude inside this bubble.
Oh no, he's named. It's Bubble Boy. That's why you don't need to put the name tag on there or anything.
That's who he is.
Yeah. Fourth string quarterback.
I feel like we're getting into second half of show stuff. Do you have anything else you want to say about the Rams?
I have a bad feeling about this, but I'm super hopeful. How about that?
Let's get to the second half of the show.
Okay.
Getting into the second half of the show, Adam feels hopeful, but is nervous about this game coming up. I feel a lot.
Don't mischaracterize how I feel.
Well, okay.
I think we're going to lose, but I'm still really hopeful that we'll win.
I think we're going to win this game. I actually feel better about this Rams game than I did about the first Rams game.
Interesting. No, I feel worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Got Chris Carson back. Got some
he's been
Carlos
back.
Hyde moving. But he wasn't. We didn't have Chris Carson for the first Rams game.
No. But he's been back for a while, and this offense does not look good. Just because there's a name in the lineup doesn't mean automatically they're going to be better.
Well, way to bring me down. Jeez. I was feeling pretty good until you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Signed Alex Boone to the practice squad.
Sweet.
Former Niners guard.
Oh, that Alex Boone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you thought he has been out of the league for a little while, but he had been looking to get back in, and he tried out with the Ravens, and Seahawks signed him.
Hey, what? Well, good for him. Keep getting them checks, Alex Boone.
Got some guard depth. Quentin Dunbar went on season-ending IR, though.
Well, that's okay.
You're not too broken up about that?
I will lose precisely 0 ounces of sleep over that.
Let's see. In other news, what do you make of Coach Schottenheimer as a head coaching candidate?
He'll become a head coach. I'll put it to you that way. He will be a head coach
this
next
offseason?
season. I think so.
I think he would make a better head coach than coordinator.
Really?
I just think that he has that, he has more of a team management vibe. I don't know. He seems to have kind of those good head coaching vibes for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the pedigree's there. That's why I would say that he'll be a head coach.
Yeah, because the team's going to interview him, and he's going to come off well, and he's going to. I think he's going to interview
had
well.
a lot of success.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's a name in the industry. He wouldn't be my hire for a head coach.
Oh no, I think, but
yeah,
he'd be a good 8-8 to 10-6 kind of coach.
Sure. Yeah.
Like if you're a bad team that just wants to not be a bad team anymore, I think Schottenheimer can get you there.
I predict that Schottenheimer will become the next head coach of the Detroit Lions, and he'll retain Darrell Bevell as offensive coordinator.
Wow. That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if we need to take a trip to Prisco's world to do this, but Seahawks, number 4 in Prisco's power rankings this week.
That's too high.
So you would put the Saints above them?
Right now, yes.
Even with Drew Brees looking like he's not ready to be back, just based on what their defense
hurts them. Yeah, their defense is solid. Taysom Hill's playing fine. Sean Payton's a good coach.
You put the Steelers above the Seahawks?
No, actually, because I've been saying since they were on this undefeated streak that was a mirage. That team was not nearly as good as their record indicated.
And they got beat by Washington, and they got beat by the Bengals.
Yes, they've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, but there was the team in the middle, wasn't it? The Bills.
It doesn't matter because here's what happened. The season went on, and Ben Roethlisberger is old,
right?
And so,
hey, the Colts, they have an old quarterback. Do you put old man Rivers ahead of the Seahawks? Their defense has been struggling lately.
If their defense had been more consistent, I'd put them ahead of the Seahawks.
The Bucks,
right now,
they almost got beat by the Falcons.
Yeah.
Except the Falcons can't close games.
I just like their defense.
The Bucks defense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hate Brady's fit in that offense.
Okay, well, we're down to the Ravens. We're almost outside of the top 10 now, and we've only found one team that you like more.
I feel like if we played the Ravens right now, that's probably a loss.
Browns?
No.
No what?
No, they're not better.
Okay.
Don't put them ahead of them.
I was wondering if you were saying no chance, like no chance you'd beat the Browns. Okay.
No chance that we'd lose to the Browns.
Titans?
Actually, that's not fair. There's a 40% chance that we'd lose to the
Titans. What about the Titans? A bad defense, but a pretty good offense.
Yes. And a style of play that not many can match up against. Now, the Seahawks are good against the run. Overall, I don't know. They're right in that range. They're on the same. I would draw.
Yeah. Okay. Dolphins.
No.
And then we're down to
I commend them for their improvement, but
I think now we're getting to the border of the best of the bad teams, the worst of the good teams. Rams, Cardinals.
Right now, it feels like we're worse than the Rams, but better than the Cards.
We're worse than the Rams that just lost to the 0-13 Jets. Okay.
Yeah, things happen.
I don't know. I think this is a better team.
Packers are better.
This is a better team than the Rams.
They should be.
That Pete Carroll press conference ruined you. Pete Carroll got you so ticked after that.
Yeah, that made me legitimately angry. Just to come out and just be like, yeah, that was awesome.
They just made the playoffs. He was fired up.
It's one thing if he would have been a little more contemplative throughout the.
It was that he was so definitive.
Present.
Like, yeah.
No, that's totally according to plan. Don't worry about it. You guys can worry about it, but I'm not worried.
Well,
I'm not saying fire Pete.
You're saying Pete needs to be better.
Yes.
Do better, Pete.
Yeah.
Coach.
And it's not even hard to do better. Just be more aggressive.
That is something that you do need to have. You need to coach and play with a sense of urgency especially in the playoffs, because there's no and And it's weird because Pete, he talks up that philosophy of play, every game is a championship opportunity.
Mhm.
And so you would think that would tend to lead you to be a little more aggressive.
Yes, you would think so. Look, the other thing I'd like him to do is stop wasting challenges.
There was one in our Discord. I think somebody pointed out that it was maybe an effective use of a timeout just to give the way that Washington was driving the football, maybe a good time to give the defense a little bit of a breather.
Cool. Then just use a timeout. Don't waste the challenge.
Because you only have 2 challenges.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, I'm going to double use up resources on a timeout for like no reason.
I could argue they probably would not have needed a third challenge at that point in the game.
Cool.
But you never know.
It's just burning it for the sake of burning it. And the thing is that we all know that you don't win spot challenges unless it's like beyond egregious.
Oh, yeah. The one against the Packers in last year's playoff game was more egregiously short of the first down sticks than that one was.
Right.
Pete gets... Yeah. Talk about Pete being emotional. You can always count on Pete to be really upset about a spot to where I wonder how many, if you looked at his challenges over the years, how many of them have been spot challenges, and he's probably lost all of them.
Maybe just percentage or just total of spot challenges compared to every other coach in the league.
I'd like to see
I bet he has
You
more.
know who we should call up and ask about that?
Not Cynthia.
Cynthia Freeland would know.
No.
Hello, Brandon. Let me tell you a little bit about Pete's challenges.
I want to cheer you up, Adam.
Okay.
How about we welcome some new members of the flock?
That'll do it.
All right. Starting with a welcome to the flock to Jamie Williams in at 1212. Jamie coming in from the UK. He says, "Hi guys, been an on and off listener for way too long, but finally fully committed this year when I found myself with more time. Now you guys are a vital part of my week. Been a freeloader way too long and have wanted to get involved for ages. Finally got around to doing it. Always look forward to listening to you two on my journey to work towards the end of the week. Keep up the good work. Go Hawks."
Yeah, go Hawks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we do tend to grow on people. There's that.
Yeah, if you find yourself a new listener and you're like, I'm not really sure about this show,
don't worry. You will be in a while. You'll have no idea why.
just keep
You'll
listening.
question yourself every week.
You won't be able to stop.
But eventually you'll want to give us money. So that's cool.
It works out. It has worked out well for us to continue the show.
It surely has.
Patrick Osier has given us a raise up from 6 to 1212. So thank you to Patrick.
Appreciate it, Patrick. And I think we deserve that raise when we have to witness games like that Washington game.
And Chad from Lexington Park, Maryland comes in. He was in the flock last week. He sent along a note that came in after the show, says, "Love your guys' podcast, and I'm glad my Hawker is right and that I'm no longer a freeloader."
Yeah, it feels good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to give yourself a Christmas present, get yourself in the flock, and then your conscience will feel better. Your Hawker is cleansed, and you'll go into the new year getting rid of the stink that is 2020 and opening your arms to what the possibilities are in 2021, like a Super Bowl championship.
Well, I mean, do we need to get political? Should we talk about what the work that we have been doing to try and secure money around Christmas time for the entire nation?
I thought maybe I could get everybody a couple extra bucks, but no, only $600 this time. Yeah, we can't possibly afford to give everybody a $1,200 one again.
I thought you were kind of on board with this idea that maybe we needed to bounce it up to $2,000 for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're handing out money, hand over fist to different organizations, corporations, things like that, I think maybe the average dude could use a little
more, right?
Little actual, yeah, maybe actually a significant amount of the pie of the amount that they're handing out. That'd be cool.
Last week you said 12. I said it'd probably be 6. You said that wasn't good enough. And so, yeah, I thought you were right to, be a little more aggressive with it. We'll see how it works out. Well, we should know by next week, right?
Up. Maybe I shouldn't turtle up here. Maybe I shouldn't take my foot off the gas, and I just need to go for it.
It almost sounded like you were taking your foot off the gas with being okay with 6.
Right, but I wouldn't do it for an entire half. I only did it for a moment there.
You can go to getintheflock.com or you can go to seahawkerspodcast.com/support. Help support the show. Go in through Patreon. You can donate via PayPal. There's even an address up on seahawkerspodcast.com/support. You could send paper checks in. Like, we're old school that way.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take it any way we can get it. Hey, I do want to throw this out there, though, before we continue on in the show. So just to all the people that are about to comment or already have commented down in the sections here when they listen to this show, like, you're not a real Seahawks fan because you don't support every single thing they do 100% of the time, every time for life.
People say that?
Yes, they do. We've heard those sort of comments. This is a podcast where Brandon and I, fans of the team, not experts, just fans, invite you into our conversation to let you know how we're feeling throughout the roller coaster of a season. I don't feel great right now, and so I'm expressing that. And if that hurts your little feelers, then I'm sorry. But I just want to nip that in the bud.
Okay. I feel like those people have probably all dropped off by now and left their comments, so you're way too late on this.
I don't care. The people that are still on, they'll feel vindicated when they have to read those comments.
Be like, Adam already nipped this in the bud. You shouldn't be commenting.
That's exactly right. Leave a timestamp in your comment.
There you go.
Of what I called them out. Yeah.
I think you can do. I think you can leave timestamps on your comments on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could at least just type in the number, right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
At 90 minutes into the show, you said you nipped it in the bud, but I still think that you are a jerk for not being fully on board with everything the Seahawks do every single time.
And I'm not a real fan.
And I forgot to mention, you're not a real fan.
Right.
Okay.
I appreciate your insight, Brandon.
I know how this works by now. We've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. Almost a decade.
Well, if you're just now finding out about the show, you want to get on board, getintheflock.com. A big thanks to our executive producers. A happy holidays to all of you. And a big thanks to Dustin Mock and Brian Shaw.
Always big thanks to those fellas. I know. See, that's the thing is when I do a show like this where I'm going to be a little critical, I know Dustin and Brian have my back.
They have your back.
I know they do.
I have your back. They have your back. The rest of the flock has your back, Adam.
I got a whole catfishing flock that has my back. How about that? Bunch of little flockers.
You know what? You're probably going to get a huge congratulations from Bloomy after a show like this. He's going to feel like you're on his side.
Okay. All right. I've been I didn't want to admit this on the show, but this entire show, happy Christmas, Dave Bloomquist. This one's for you, buddy. This is his present.
That's it.
It's the only way I could get something to hung.
There you go. You're not getting your mini helmet now, Dave.
Yeah. No, you got this. What an upgrade.
You know what? We're also giving things away. It is getting into the final days of the month. At the end of the month, we're going to give away a Russell Wilson card with a tiny piece of Seahawks jersey in it. Tiny pieces of Seahawksstuff.com. Let's do a quick pick'em update as Van Isle Hawk fan moved into the number one spot with 156 points, followed up by Collier Greens, Jonathan Burkholder, Tuga Hawk, and Will Gisley. The biggest little flocker, Chris, got 14 picks correct.
Damn.
Only missed the Rams and the Saints.
It's understandable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Chiefs-Saints game was kind of a coin flip type game, but yeah, he had the Chargers upset, had the Bengals upsetting Pittsburgh, so that was pretty big.
Mm.
And
who even started a quarterback for the Bengals?
Was it Allen?
Oh,
Brandon Allen?
Kyle Allen? Brandon Allen? If it's Brandon Allen, I like Brandon Allen.
I don't even know.
I told you when he came out of college from Arkansas, I was like, this guy could be a high-level backup.
I just know that I think that he plays for the Bengals.
There you go. I think you know that too.
But I don't know if he started. You know what? I'm so curious now. No, it was Ryan Finley who started.
He's still in the league?
Yeah. I think Allen got hurt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're down to their third stringer now.
Yeah, I'd be more mad today, as mad as I've been at the Seahawks this episode. I'd be more mad at the Steelers if I was a Steelers fan. But then again, I'd have made a whole series of poor life choices also, clearly, if I were a Steelers fan.
I would be more upset about losing to Ryan Finley than losing to Colt McCoy, that's for sure.
Yes. Yeah, somehow. That is worse.
Well, the rest of the 14-point earners don't need to feel bad about losing to Chris. They just lost in the tiebreaker. But John Limparski, Sofa Catfish, good, and Richard Matthews all got 14 points, but just missed out on the tiebreaker.
Awesome. Well, good for all you guys, man. I'm glad you keep trying.
I've been keeping track of that, keeping track of the Pick'em prizes. We've given away in the Pick'em prizes. Jaron Reed signed photo to the Week 1 winner. Brian Shaw had the Ugo Amadi prize pack that was donated to the show. That went to Sideline Sockeye for the Week 2 win. Unlimited Flocker in Week 3. He had the Seattle Skyline photo. Gary Blum got the Griffin Brothers Funko Pops. And yeah, we're working our way through the prize list. So lots of prizes to give away.
That's awesome, man. I'm sure everybody gets a big kick out of that when they do receive their prize. You do awesome with that.
You know, with the way people support the show, we got to be a part of this community in other ways too. And the Pick'em League's part of that.
Absolutely.
Even though you're no longer in the Pick'em League.
That's okay. What I've decided is that next year I need an intern that will give me a call and just run down the games.
Oh.
And then I can tell them my pick and then they can put them in for me.
Yeah. Or you could just tell me, but yeah, you probably need an intern.
An intern. And it must be an unattractive male intern because the second I said that, Brittany's head careened around and gave me the dirtiest look I've gotten since we've been together, I think.
Yeah.
Transition out of that. Good luck.
I can't do it.
Yeah. I broke the show.
Adam broke the
and my
show.
Relationship. All in this one, like, couple seconds here. This is the beginning of my
by saying the word intern, you broke multiple things in your life in a 3-minute span.
It's because I doubted the Seahawks throughout the whole first half of this podcast. This is my Roosters coming home to hatch or whatever.
I don't even have a call from Jeremy this week that I can just roll right into for the trivia.
No, you can't. Yeah, you just got to hang out there.
Do we want to go over the rushing leaders or do we need to wait for Jeremy to call in?
Yeah, we need to wait.
Okay. I need to know from Jeremy if when we pick the rushing leaders, were we picking playoffs included or not included?
I would say included. They're in your total stats, yeah.
When I go to Pro Football Reference and I put in Seattle Seahawks career rushing leaders and pull up that list, that does not have postseason yardage in it, which I think impacts the rankings significantly.
Significant impacts the rankings.
Yeah. Well, to the point, I will say that Marshawn Lynch would not be number 2 if you don't include postseason yards.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
It's a 320-yard difference between Lynch and the tandem of Kurt Warner, Chris Warren.
Look, I'm not going to let you sit here and take the bloom off of Jeremy's rose here. Like, these are all the things that he would, when he calls it, you know how he clarifies, he gives us more.
He clarifies, which means he talks about how dumb we are. He's like the Alex Trebek of the show, to where he's like, you guys are so dumb. This is why the answer is what it is.
Yeah. Shuck it, Trebek.
Trebek had that way about him of just feeling the superiority and giving the answer.
Yeah. So Jeremy clearly needs to work on his mustache.
Work on your mustache.
He needs a Trebek mustache.
Yeah. And R.I.P. Trebek, if we've never mentioned that on the show.
Yeah, no.
That was sad news. That was a couple weeks back. I don't know why we didn't have him as better at life or anything, but we probably whiffed on that.
Because I'm never rooting for any dude to die, and it sounds like he was a nice enough guy all the way around and everything, but all he really did was give answers to people that they had to guess the question.
In a smug way that made them feel like they should have been
with a superiority complex. Yeah.
He did that better than anybody. And he was at the top of his game.
Yeah, that is a true fact. He definitely kicks Pat Sajak's ass in that way.
If you could have seen those two fight, and the dude from
fight, like an Anchorman fight.
Yeah, get the dude, get everybody from get all of the major players from Hollywood Squares. Jim J. Bullock. Yeah, he'd be in there. Get the dude from Joker's Wild.
You know who's mopping this whole thing up?
Who's that?
Bob freaking Barker.
Absolutely. He took down Happy Gilmore.
Down Adam Sandler. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bob Barker, game show host, fight to the death champion. Mark it down. First guy he kills Drew Carey for trying to step in for him.
Although, does Drew Carey represent Price is Right, or does he represent Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I guess technically that's a game show. Yeah.
Sure.
Who's Line?
They give away
Yeah.
points and everything.
Yeah, I think that's Wayne Brady's show.
What? No,
I
Wayne Brady.
think Whose Line Is It Anyway is I would
He's a
consider it more
contestant.
Wayne Brady's show.
No.
Yeah, but if he was the kind of the straw that stirred that drink.
Right. And then he parlayed
was
that
the
into
Brandon
his.
Shell. He was the Brandon Shell of Whose Line Is It Anyway. He was the linchpin.
And then he parlayed that into his own game show as the next host of Let's Make a Deal.
There you go. See?
Wait, you think that Bob Barker would be able to take out Wayne Brady in this fight to the death game show host challenge?
Bob Barker's a stone cold killer. And he's got that pointy microphone. The little tiny one, right?
Yeah.
It looks like a baton that like police use. He's beating the shit out of people with that.
Sure.
Price is wrong.
Catfish!
Didn't Gene Rayburn have that same microphone too back in the day?
Yeah, but he didn't command it the way Bob does.
Yeah.
He discombobulate them all.
I would take Bob over Gene Rayburn in a fight.
How about the You Are the Weakest Link chick? Where does she rate in here?
Which one? The British one or Jane?
Yeah, the British one. She's hard. She seems mean. I feel like she like cut her teeth in prison before she like took over that show.
Oh man, this sounds like a March. This sounds
March
like a March
Madness
bracket challenge of game show fight to the death bracket.
We're still in lockdown. Maybe we need to create this for the Ring of Honor.
This would beat the Sandra Bullock movie challenge.
And all we need to do is get Cynthia Freeland to do her stupid simulations to tell us who actually won.
No, I think we actually get the actual game hosts together to do this and fight to the death.
Oh, cool. Hey, once you get that resurrection thing figured out, let me know. This is the time of year for it.
We'll bring
Yeah.
We'll be super popular, bringing back Trebek and Rayburn and all the greats.
Cool. Glad we settled that.
Well, it's not settled. We're just making a plan for the future.
No, settled that it needs to happen.
On to do better and better at life.
All right. My do better this week is for the freaking league. The NFL, the wishy-washy, can't make a decision NFL, and their continual harassment of the man, the myth, the legend, the angel, the man with the halo, Josh Gordon, who all he wants to do is come and play football and smoke weed. That's all he wants to do.
Uh-huh.
That's it. I don't think that's too much to ask. He's not killing babies. He's not doing anything bad. But what we get, again, in the saga that is his reinstatement, suspension, all that, we find out on Sunday, he's reinstated and the Seahawks have activated him. Cool beans. Then like 2 days later, he hasn't met all the requirements, so now he can't play. So which is it?
Well, what
We
does
don't
that
know.
even mean?
No, that's what I'm saying. There's no decision made here. Nobody knows what this means. The league's just full of
Catfish!
and they've got a vendetta against Josh Gordon. Like I said, he just wants to token up a little bit, score some touchdowns. Free Josh Gordon. NFL, do better.
Free Josh Gordon. This is very confusing to me because it was Bob Condotta who tweeted that, per source, Josh Gordon and the Seahawks were notified today that he has not satisfied all terms of his conditional reinstatement. So that means to me that he satisfied most of the terms. How many terms are there to reinstatement?
I have no idea.
Oh, you didn't
When it
get them
comes
all. You
to-
missed one. Well, which one? Well, you missed one.
Well, you tied your shoes with the bows in reverse. And so
Did he not wear the correct color socks to the first practice that he returned back to? Is this what it's coming down to?
I don't know, but I have a strong suspicion that there's like Josh Gordon did something to a member of the Goodell family. Like that's the only thing I can think of to this point.
It's really weird because there were a couple reports that said he had a relapse, which if he were to have done substances that were on the banned substance list, then he would be suspended again. But that's not what this sounds like because Pete's making it sound like he has the potential now to play in week 17. So what's going on?
I don't know, but I need him back to make a couple key third down catches.
That's it.
And I wish the league would stop dicking around with this guy.
Yeah. Let him make.
It just feels personal at this point.
I don't like it.
I don't either.
Might do better this week. Something else I don't like. Our Pro Bowl special teamers, Michael Dixon and Jason Myers, getting snubbed by the selection committee.
Hosed.
Michael Dixon, special teams player of the week after his game against Washington. It's the second time he earned the honor this year, and he did it against a guy that's on the other side of the ball who has also won it twice. So suck it, Tressway. Michael Dixon's the better punter. He beat you straight up. The thing is, though, is that I expected to go look at the Pro Bowl list and see that it was Tressway that was the selection for the NFC representative in the Pro Bowl. But it wasn't that guy either. Rookie Jack Fox of Detroit got selected for the Pro Bowl. Jack Fox. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, I don't either.
That's the Pro Bowl representative for the NFC, not the dude who's been in the league multiple years, getting it done this year. I don't even think Jack Fox got selected for a special team player of the week once. Dixon's done it twice, so obviously making a difference there. Jason Myers, he hasn't missed a field goal this season, including a 61-yard field goal, and he's not the representative.
What else does a guy have to do?
What does he have to do?
What else does a guy? Yeah.
Make all of Young Ku's field goals too?
But I guess maybe he hasn't successfully converted an onside kick. Is that it?
Maybe. Although that was against the Cowboys.
Yeah, he's the Falcons kicker.
He's the Falcons kicker. Did he actually convert an onside kick? I'm having trouble because the Falcons always screw things up late in the games.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. But he did convert a bunch of them last year.
Okay. Well, good for him.
That's what I say.
You know what I have seen is him missing field goals.
Yeah.
And Jason Myers hasn't. For the Pro Bowl selection committee, do better.
Bullshit.
Catfish.
Bunch of crap.
I wish I knew some like Australian derogatory slang terms that I could throw out right then.
Yeah.
And I wish I could do an Australian accent as well, because it'd be fun to do right there.
You should learn how to do an Australian accent in Cartman's voice.
To be honest, what it is it's just Cynthia Freeland's voice. It's exactly how every Australian sounds.
Right. Who you got for better at life?
All right. My better at life this week, Brandon, is for SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Now, yeah. So here recently, they actually picked up a radio signal from our closest neighbor, the star Proxima Centauri. And they looked at it and were kind of trying to figure out what to do with it. And they got this all the way back in April and May, but they've been analyzing it and they've come out and they said it's very strange. Buckle up. It's very strange.
Ooh.
That's what they said. They said it's very unlikely that the signal was produced by a natural but unknown cosmic source. But who knows? Nature often surprises us. So for finding aliens on our closest the star that's our closest neighbor, SETI, better at life than Skip Bayless.
So
aliens.
We now know that we're not alone.
That's exactly right.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. They're on a planet that we think is there. That's about 28% bigger than
we don't
Earth,
even know if the planet's actually there?
Yeah, but it is, and there's aliens there. SETI found it. So it's, don't worry about it, man. Better at life.
Take SETI's word for it, because they know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm feeling suspicious about this better at life.
No, it's foolproof. Don't question it. We're not alone.
My better at life this week is for our actual Seahawks Pro Bowlers. Yes, there's no game this year, but as we've mentioned, there's selections, there's snubs, and there were players that weren't snubbed, like Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, all going back, multiple time Pro Bowlers. And then you got our first time Pro Bowlers for the Seahawks. DK Metcalf makes it. Quandre Diggs makes it after being an alternate last year. And Tyler Ott and Nick Bellore both make it for special teams. So for making the Pro Bowl, being among the teams that have the most Pro Bowlers, even though they should have 9 instead of 7, our Seahawks Pro Bowlers, better at life than Skip Bayless.
At least Ott and Bellore are there to represent special teams, right?
You know, they're just going to rub the nose of Dixon and Myers in it and be like, hey, everybody on special teams, raise your hand if you're going to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Michael, you should be able to raise your hand. You've been there once before. You were an all-pro before. You're not going this year?
Must be because you're a foreigner or something. I don't know.
You know what? I could see Dixon making all-pro this year and not going to the Pro Bowl. How weird would that be?
Yeah. Myers too.
Yeah.
Now, so here's the thing. If I'm Tyler Ott, I am a long snapper for an NFL franchise, right?
Yeah.
I would do this all day, every day. I would rub it in everybody's faces. The biggest moment you're ever going to have ever as a long snapper, right?
Yeah.
I think he needs to be on the show.
I think
in
so.
recognition of his Pro Bowl announcement.
Yeah. We should put our intern on that.
Yeah.
Or maybe one of our producers.
That would be helpful too.
Look, if you can, even if you haven't supported the show monetarily and you land Tyler Ott as an interview on the show, you get an executive producer credit for that show.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do.
Have at it.
Be an executive producer.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's attainable.
I think so.
I think there's an industrious young little flocker out there that can get this done.
Or an older flocker. It doesn't even matter your age.
Young at heart, ambitious, industrious. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we get on out of here, let's throw out some names of some ambitious and industrious little flockers. Our members of the flock at $12 and above. And Adam, I think this is a first. I think we are over the 100 mark for flockers supporting the show at 12 and above.
That's amazing. You guys are awesome, man.
This is going to take the breath out of me.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Annalisa Mickelson, a.k.a. Mrs. Doug Baldwin, New York, undergrad, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, graduate school, Brooklyn College.
Jameson Holman from Murray, Utah, representing Mississippi State University. Hail State and go Hawks.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
Hong Kong! Hong Kong! Hong Kong!
Ella Esparza, Woodway, Texas, Yale University, and Sam Houston State, Eat 'em Up Cats.
Lisa in Seattle.
Kevin Stengham, Keene, Texas.
Vincent Parker, Emily Carr, University of Art Design, RN Collective.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jesse, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Renkomo in France.
Paul from San Diego.
Aaron Fisher, a.k.a. Lock It and Put It in Your Pocket, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hey Seahawkers, my name is Garen Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the Rose. Go Hawks.
Continuing down the list of supporters at 12 and above, we have Dustin and Brian, our executive producers, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Ross in Eureka, California, Craig in Camas, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, James in Linwood, Roe in Federal Way, Young in Anchorage, Hector in Issaquah, Becca in Manhattan Beach, California, Jared in Missoula, Montana, Tim in Austin, Kathy in Eureka, California, Joshua in Seven Oaks, England, Brandon in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Christian in Bergen, Norway, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Jeremy in the Bronx, Keegan in Colorado Springs, James in Beaux Arts, Jeffrey in Kansas City, Missouri, Kari in Rochester, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Eric in Seattle, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Taylor in South Cle Elum, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Dean in the Greater Hawkdom, JC in Horsford, England, Kevin in Sammamish, John in Norfolk, Nebraska, Eric in Clovis, California, Crystal in Oldsmar, Florida, Chris in Spokane, John C. in the Greater Hawkdom, John W. in New York, Shoko in New York, Scott in Bakersfield, California, Patrick in Sacramento, Bryson in Eltopia, Greg in Seattle, Jeremy in Federal Way, Ben in Wrexham, Wales, Ryan in Chatham, England, Joshua in Candor, New York, Ivy in Renton, Kenneth in Hutto, Texas, Mark in Bexley Heath, England, Mario in Seattle, Seth in Tacoma, Cora in Ditters, Deutschland, Anders in Vila, Denmark, Warren in Dundee, Oregon, Chris in Austin, Jose in Chicago, Jack in Somersham, England, Amy in Squim, Marcus in Potts Point, Australia, Preston in Phoenix, Richard in Killeen, Texas, Nathan in Bozeman, Montana, Marlon in the Greater Hawkdom, John H. in Honolulu, Chad in Lexington Park, Maryland, Joseph in Vancouver, Benjamin in the Greater Hawkdom, Corey in Vancouver, Taylor in Spokane, Jesse in Sultan, Jay in Bellingham, Ryan in Salt Lake City, Norma in the Greater Hawkdom, Kyle in the Greater Hawkdom, Darren in Stafford, Virginia, JC in University Place, Chris in Billings, Montana, Tyler in Kalama, DJ in Menifee, California, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Terrence in Seattle, Jalen in Minneapolis, Kansas, Daniel in Post Falls, Idaho, Pedro in Woodstock, Georgia, Tucker in Camas, Eugene in Henderson, Nevada, Ian in Seattle, Jamie in Oswestry, England, Mike in the Greater Hawkdom, and Sebastian in Seattle. So a huge thanks to all of our supporters at 12 and above. I still have some lung capacity left to offer thanks at the end, to thank you, to wish you a happy holiday season, as we are just a couple days away from Christmas Day, and thank goodness, a new year.
Oh, no kidding, right? I think we're all ready for that. And yeah, happy Christmas to all you folks.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Bill O'Brien is such a terrible coach that he couldn't get orange juice from an orange.